The ship dropped them on the moon like garbage. 50 humans fell from the sky in metal pods, crashing into gray dust and black rock. When Tay opened his eyes, he saw nothing but emptiness. No trees, no water, no life. Just a dead world under a pale sun. He was 34 years old. Back on Earth, he had been a scientist who studied plants and soil. Now he was a prisoner on a moon he did not choose, surrounded by strangers who looked as lost as he felt. A woman helped him stand. Her name was Hannah, and she had been a chef before the aliens took her. Her hands were shaking, but her eyes were steady. "Are you hurt?" she asked. "But I do not think that matters anymore." Around them, other humans crawled from their pods. Some were crying, some were screaming at the sky. An old man sat quietly in the dust, his face calm like still water. His name was Day, and he had been a farmer for 50 years. Beside him stood Yuna, a young woman who studied living things, and Esiok, an engineer with gray in his hair and oil under his fingernails. Before anyone could speak, the sky lit up. A giant face appeared in the clouds, made of blue light. It was not human. The creature had 4 eyes and skin like purple stone. When it spoke, the ground shook. "Humans of Earth," the alien said. "I am Vorn, overseer of the survival trials. Your species wishes to join the Galactic Council. But membership is not given. It is earned." The crying stopped. Everyone looked up. "You will remain on this moon for 90 cycles," Vorn continued. "If you survive, your species will be considered worthy. If you die, Earth will be marked as a failed world. Resources will be provided. Use them wisely." The face disappeared. The sky went dark. For a long moment, no one moved. Then a young man shouted, "What resources? There is nothing here." As if answering him, the ground rumbled. A massive container fell from the sky and crashed nearby. Then another, and another. 12 containers in total, each one as big as a house. The humans ran to open them. Tay reached the first container and pulled the heavy door. The smell hit him like a wall. He stepped back, covering his nose. Inside was rot, piles and piles of rotting plants, dead meat, and thick brown sludge that bubbled and steamed. "This is garbage," someone whispered. Hannah opened another container. More waste. Esiok found one filled with dirty water, brown and cloudy. Yuna discovered containers of gray soil, dead and powdery. "They are mocking us," a woman cried. "They sent us here to die." Panic spread like fire. People argued. Some fell to their knees. Others cursed the aliens with words so angry that Tay felt his chest tighten just hearing them. But Day? The old farmer did something strange. He walked to the container of rotting plants and knelt beside it. He picked up a handful of the decay and smelled it. Then he smiled. "What are you doing?" Siok asked. "Have you lost your mind?" Day stood slowly, his knees cracking. "When I was young, my grandfather taught me to farm. He said the most important lesson was this: there is no such thing as waste. Only things waiting to become something else." Tay stepped closer. His mind was racing. He looked at the rotting plants again, really looked this time. He saw vegetable skins, fruit cores, stems, and leaves. All of it breaking down. All of it releasing nutrients. "He is right," Tay said quietly. Then louder, "He is right." Hannah pushed through the crowd. She knelt beside the bubbling sludge and dipped her finger in. She tasted it, and her face changed. "This is fermentation. Something is alive in here. Bacteria, microbes. This is not poison. This is culture." "Culture?" someone asked. "Living things," Hannah explained. "Tiny creatures that break down food. On Earth, we use them to make kimchi, wine, cheese, bread. They are not our enemy. They are our oldest friends." Yuna ran to examine the gray soil. She rubbed it between her fingers, held it to the light, and even put some under her tongue. Low nutrients, but not dead. "If we add organic matter, we can bring it back. We can grow things in this." Seoke was already walking around the containers, knocking on walls, testing materials. The metal is strong. We can build shelters. Collect water. Filter it. The crowd grew quiet. The fear did not disappear, but something else appeared beside it. A small flame of hope climbed onto a rock so everyone could see him. "Listen to me," he said. "The aliens think they have given us garbage. They think we will fight over scraps and die in the dust, but they do not know us. They do not know what humans can do." He pointed to the containers. "That rot will become soil. That sludge will become food. That dirty water will become clean. We have done this before. Our ancestors survived ice and fire and flood. They ate what others threw away and built civilizations." An old woman stepped forward. "How do you know this will work?" Tay looked at her honestly. "I do not know. But I know that giving up means death, and I am not ready to die." Hannah stood beside him. "I have made food from almost nothing my whole life. Give me time, and I will make something from this." Day nodded slowly. "The earth does not care if you are rich or poor, alien or human. It only asks for patience. We must be patient." One by one, people began to nod. The crying stopped. The screaming faded. In its place came something stronger. Determination. Far above the moon, on a ship made of crystal and light, Vorn watched through floating screens. Beside him stood a younger alien named Keth, whose eyes never left the humans. "They have stopped panicking," Keth observed. Vor made a sound like laughter. "It does not matter. Every species calms before they realize the truth. The resources we gave them are designed to be useless. Within 20 cycles, they will turn on each other. They always do." Keth said nothing, but he kept watching. The humans were already sorting through the waste, separating materials, talking in small groups. It was organized. It was calm. It was strange. "What are they doing?" Keth asked. Vorn glanced at the screen and shrugged, delaying the inevitable. But on the surface of that dead moon, 50 humans formed a circle. They did not know each other's languages perfectly. They came from different countries, different lives, different dreams. But they understood one thing together. They would not die here. Not without a fight. Tay divided them into groups. Seok would lead the builders. Yuna would study the soil and plants. Hannah would handle the fermentation. Day would advise them all. And Tay would keep everyone working together as the pale sun set on their first day. Hannah stood alone by the sludge container. She scooped some into a smaller vessel she had made from bent metal. The mixture bubbled and smelled sour. She whispered to it like an old friend. "Grow for me, please. Grow." Above her, the stars were cold and silent. The aliens were watching, waiting for humans to fail. But Hannah had spent her whole life making miracles from scraps. She was not afraid of garbage. She was excited by it. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. 20 days passed on the dead moon, and the humans refused to die. Seok worked without rest. He took apart the metal containers and rebuilt them into shelters. He used fabric from clothing and twisted wire to create filters for the dirty water. Drop by drop, brown became clear. Poison became life. "It is slow," Seok admitted on the 5th day, watching water drip through his filter. "But it works." Tay put a hand on his shoulder. "Slow is fine. Slow means we are still alive." Yuna spent her days in the gray soil, testing and measuring. She mixed rotting plants into the dust, turning it over with her bare hands. The smell was terrible, but she smiled through it. "The bacteria are working," she told the group on day 8. "The decay is feeding the soil. In 2 more weeks, we can plant." Some people doubted her. How could anything grow in this dead place? But Yuna showed them the small changes. The soil was darker now, softer when she squeezed it. It held together instead of falling apart like sand. Day watched her work and nodded with approval. "You have good instincts," he said. "The earth speaks to those who listen." Yuna blushed. "I studied books." "You studied the real thing." "Books and dirt both teach the same lesson," Day said. "Nothing is wasted. Everything returns." While the others built and dug, Hannah worked alone in her corner of the camp. She had taken the bubbling sludge and divided it into smaller containers. Each one held a different mixture. Some she kept warm near the fires Sea Oak built. Others she buried in the ground where it was cool. On day 3, one of the containers exploded. Brown liquid sprayed everywhere. People screamed. Hannah just laughed and wiped her face. "It's too much gas," she said. "I will add holes next time." By day 10, she had learned to control the process. The sludge separated into layers. The top was liquid, sour, but drinkable. The middle was thick paste, rich with protein. The bottom was solid waste, perfect for the compost pile. "Taste this," Hannah said to Tay, offering him a spoonful of the paste. Tay looked at the gray mixture with doubt, but he trusted Hannah. He closed his eyes and put it in his mouth. It was sour. It was strange, but it was also familiar, like something his grandmother might have made long ago. His eyes widened. "Tastes like doenjang," he whispered. "Like fermented beans?" Hannah grinned. "The aliens gave us garbage. But garbage is just food that is not finished becoming food." Word spread through the camp. People came to taste Hannah's creation. Some made faces. Others asked for more. But everyone agreed on one thing. It was real food. And it came from waste. The alien observers did not understand what they were seeing. On the crystal ship above, Keth watched the screens with growing confusion. The humans were not fighting. They were not dying. They were building something. "What is that structure?" Keth asked, pointing to a new shelter. "A primitive dwelling," Vorn answered without interest. "It will not save them. And those pits they are digging. Graves, probably. They will need many." But Keth knew they were not graves. The humans were digging irrigation channels, connecting pools of filtered water to rows of prepared soil. It was farming. It was engineering. It was hope made visible. Keth accessed the ship's records and searched for information about Earth. What he found shocked him. Humans had been fermenting food for thousands of years. They ate mold on purpose and called it cheese. They let grapes rot and called it wine. They buried vegetables in salt and spice and waited months for them to transform. "They are not afraid of decay," Keth said quietly. "What?" Vorn asked. "Nothing, Overseer?" On the surface, day 15 brought the first real test. A man named June grew angry. He had been hungry for too long, and patience was not his strength. "We should eat the waste now," June argued in front of everyone. "Why are we waiting? People are suffering." Hannah stepped forward. "If we eat everything now, we will have nothing tomorrow. Fermentation takes time, but it creates more food than we started with. The bacteria multiply. They make nutrients our bodies can use. I am tired of waiting." June shouted, "I am tired of trusting you." The crowd shifted nervously. This was the moment Vorn had predicted. This was when humans would turn on each other. But Day walked slowly to the center of the group. His old face was calm. His voice was soft. "When I was young," Day said, "my village had a terrible drought. The rice died. The vegetables died. We had nothing but seeds and salt." Everyone listened. Even June. "My grandmother took those seeds and did not plant them. She fermented them. For weeks, we waited while our stomachs screamed. Some wanted to eat the seeds raw, but grandmother said no. She said our ancestors ate from the earth's rot and called it treasure. She said patience was the only thing separating us from animals." Day paused. After 40 days, the fermentation was complete. Those few seeds became enough food for our whole village. We survived because we trusted the process. June's anger faded. He looked at the ground. "I am scared," he admitted quietly. Tay put a hand on his shoulder. "We are all scared, but we are also together. That is how humans survive. Not alone. Together." The tension broke. People returned to work. June joined Seok's building team and never complained again. By day 20, the first seedlings pushed through the soil. Tiny green leaves, smaller than fingernails, reaching for the pale sun. Una cried when she saw them. Day knelt beside the plants and whispered old prayers he had learned as a child. Hannah brought her latest creation, a drink made from fermented fruit waste. It was fizzy and sour and slightly sweet. When people tasted it, they laughed. Some even danced. "It reminds me of Macjoli," an old woman said, talking about the rice drink from her homeland. "My mother made this for festivals, and let this be our festival," Hannah said. A celebration of 20 days alive. That night, the humans gathered around fires made from dried waste. They shared Hannah's drink and told stories about Earth. They talked about mountains and oceans and cities full of light. They talked about families they missed and foods they loved. Tay sat apart watching his people. 20 days ago, they had been strangers dropped on a dead world. Now they were a community. They had shelters and water and food. They had hope. He looked up at the stars and thought about the aliens watching them. Did they understand what they were seeing? Did they know that humans had survived worse than this? Ice ages, plagues, wars. Humans had eaten insects and weeds and things that would make other species sick. They had learned to love the taste of rot because rot kept them alive. On the crystal ship, Keth turned off his screen and sat in silence. He was beginning to understand something important. The humans were not surviving despite the garbage. They were surviving. Because of it, the aliens had given them the one thing humans knew how to use better than any species in the galaxy. They had given them decay. And decay in human hands was not an ending. It was a beginning. Below, watered the tiny seedlings with filtered water. Hannah prepared more fermentation vessels. COE planned new shelters. Day told stories to the young ones. And Tay looked at the horizon where the sun was rising. Day 21 was about to begin. They were just getting started. The dead moon was no longer dead. 50 days had passed, and the gray wasteland had transformed. Where there had been dust, there were now gardens. Where there had been silence, there was now laughter. The humans had built something impossible. They were only half finished. Tay walked through the settlement each morning, checking on every team. The shelters had grown into proper buildings with walls and roofs. COK had discovered that the metal from the containers could be bent and shaped when heated. Now they had a blacksmith area, a cooking station, and even a small meeting hall. "We need a name," Una said one evening. "We cannot keep calling this place the camp." Hannah looked around at the gardens and fermentation huts and water collectors. "What about new ground? Because we made new ground from nothing." Everyone agreed. The settlement became new ground, and the humans became its people. The gardens were Una's greatest pride. The alien vegetables looked strange, with purple leaves and orange roots, but they grew fast in the enriched soil. Una had figured out which ones needed more water and which ones needed less. She taught others how to care for plants, how to read their leaves for signs of sickness, how to save seeds for future planting. "I never thought I would be a farmer," said Mira, a young woman who had been a computer programmer on Earth. She was covered in dirt and smiling. "But I think I love it." Day nodded with approval. "The Earth does not care what you were. It only cares what you do." Hannah's fermentation operation had grown beyond anything she had imagined. She now had 20 vessels of different sizes, each one holding a different experiment. Some had been fermenting for weeks and were ready to eat. Others were just beginning, bubbling with new life. Her greatest creation was a paste made from fermented roots. It was red and spicy and full of flavor. When she added it to the alien vegetables, even the blandest food became delicious. "This tastes like the kimchi my grandmother made," an old man said with tears in his eyes. "How did you do this?" Hannah shrugged. "The process is the same everywhere. Salt, time, and trust. The bacteria do the rest." She also created a protein cake from the sludge cultures. It did not look beautiful, gray and dense like clay. But when cooked over Seox fires, it became crispy on the outside and soft on the inside. It filled stomachs and gave strength. "I used to throw away food that looked like this," June admitted. "I was a fool." "We were all fools," Hannah said gently. "That is why we are learning." Seok had built solar collectors from reflective metal scraps. They focused sunlight onto cooking surfaces, creating heat without fire. This saved fuel and let them cook even on cloudy days. Engineering is just solving problems, Seok explained to a group of curious young people. And problems are just puzzles waiting for answers. He taught them how to build water filters, how to repair tools, how to think about systems. The young ones learned fast. Soon they were making improvements Seok had never thought of. On day 35, the humans had their first real meal together. Not emergency rations. Not survival food. A real meal, with multiple dishes and flavors and textures. Hannah had prepared everything with help from volunteers. There were fermented vegetables, tangy and crunchy. Protein cakes grilled until golden. A soup made from plant scraps that had simmered for hours. And her probiotic drink, now perfected and smooth. 50 people sat together in the meeting hall. Tay stood to speak. When we arrived here, he said, we had nothing but garbage. The aliens expected us to die. But we did not die. We transformed. He raised his cup of fermented drink. This meal came from waste. Every bite, every sip, was once something thrown away. But we knew what the aliens did not. We knew that transformation is what humans do best. We take the broken and make it whole. We take the rotten and make it pure. We take nothing and make everything. The room was silent. Then Day began to clap. Others joined. Soon the whole hall was filled with applause and cheering. They ate together, and for the first time since arriving, the meal felt like a celebration instead of survival. High above, on the crystal ship, the alien observers were confused. Our vital signs are improving, one technician reported. Body weight is stable. Stress levels are decreasing. Vorn stared at the data with narrowed eyes. That is impossible. The resources we provided cannot sustain 50 life forms. The data does not lie, Overseer. Keth watched the screens showing the human settlement. He saw gardens and buildings and people working together. He saw cooking fires and water systems and organized activity. It looked nothing like the chaos Vorn had predicted. They are not just surviving, Keth said quietly. They are thriving. Vorn turned sharply. What did you say? Keth hesitated, then spoke clearly. The humans are thriving. They have created a sustainable food source from the waste we provided. They have built infrastructure and social organization. They are succeeding. Impossible, Vorn repeated. But his voice was less certain now. Keth pulled up records from other species who had faced the survival trials. The Rathaki had lasted 8 cycles before fighting broke out. The Velmori survived 12 cycles before disease killed half of them. The Zondrith gave up after 15 cycles and begged for rescue. Humans were at 50 cycles and showing no signs of failure. How are they doing this? Vorn demanded. Keth showed him the cultural archives he had found. Images of Earth's fermentation practices. Ancient techniques for turning decay into food. Thousands of years of human history, all pointing to the same truth. Humans evolved with rot, Keth explained. They do not fear it. They use it. Their entire civilization was built on this ability. Wine, bread, cheese, medicine, all from controlled decay. Vorn was silent for a long moment. Then he made a decision. We will inspect them in person. The council must see this. On new ground, the humans continued their work, unaware of the coming visit. Yuna expanded the gardens. Hannah experimented with new fermentation recipes. SEOC improved the water systems. Day taught anyone who would listen about traditional farming wisdom, and Tay worried. We are doing well, he told Hannah one night. Too well. The aliens will notice. Hannah smiled. Let them notice. Let them see what humans can do. They might punish us for succeeding, or they might respect us for it. Tay shook his head. I do not trust them. Vorn looks at us like we are insects, and we will show him we are not insects, Hannah said firmly. We are humans. We survived ice ages and plagues and famines. We will survive him too. Tay looked at his people, healthy and working and hopeful. He remembered the first day when everyone was crying and lost. He remembered the moment he decided to fight instead of give up. "You are right," he said finally. "We have nothing to hide. Let them come." On day 48, Tay called a meeting. He stood before the community and spoke honestly. "The aliens are watching us. They expected us to fail. Instead, we built a home. Soon, they will come to see what we have done. We must be ready." "Ready how?" someone asked. "Ready to show them everything," Tay said. "No secrets. No fear. We will show them our gardens and our fermentation and our buildings. We will show them that humans do not just survive, we overcome." Hannah stepped forward with a gleam in her eye. "And we will feed them," she said. "We will give them a meal made from their garbage and watch their faces when they taste it." The room erupted in laughter. Even Tay smiled. "Then let us prepare the greatest feast this moon has ever seen," he said. The humans cheered and began planning. They did not know exactly when the aliens would arrive, but when that day came, new ground would be ready. They would not just survive the inspection, they would transform it. The alien ships descended on day 60-2. Tay saw them first. Silver shapes falling from the sky like metal raindrops. He rang the bell Cok had made from container scraps, and all of new ground gathered in the central square. "They are here," Tay said calmly. "Remember the plan. No fear, no anger. We welcome them as guests." Anna wiped her hands on her apron and smiled. The feast had been cooking since dawn. 50 days of preparation had led to this moment. The largest ship landed outside the settlement. The doors opened with a hiss. Voran stepped out first, his purple skin glowing in the pale sunlight. Behind him came 12 other aliens, representatives from different species, all members of the Galactic Council. Keth was among them, staying quiet in the back. Voran's eyes swept across new ground. He saw the buildings and gardens and water collectors. He saw humans standing healthy and clean. He saw none of the death and chaos he had expected. His expression showed nothing, but his fists tightened. Day walked forward slowly, his old back straight with dignity. He bowed low, as his grandfather had taught him, showing respect without fear. "Welcome to new ground," Des said. "We are honored by your visit. Please, let us show you our home." Voran did not bow back. "We are here to inspect your progress. Show us everything." Tay nodded and began the tour. He showed them the water filtration system first. Esiok explained how they turned poison into clean water, drop by drop. The alien delegates asked questions and took notes. Some seemed impressed. Others seemed confused. Then came the gardens. Una walked them through rows of vegetables, explaining each plant and its needs. The purple leaves waved gently in the breeze, full and healthy. "These species typically fail in low-nutrient soil," one delegate said. "How did you achieve this growth?" "Composting," Una said simply. "We used the organic waste to create rich soil. Decay became life." Bourne frowned. "You used the waste materials for soil enhancement?" "Yes. That was not the intended purpose," Una shrugged. "You did not specify a purpose. You gave us resources. We used them." Bourne had no response to this. The tour continued. They reached Hannah's fermentation area. Dozens of vessels lined the shelves, each one labeled with dates and contents. The smell was strong, sour, and earthy, and alive. "What is this?" a delegate asked. Hannah picked up a jar of her famous red paste. "This is fermented root vegetable with salt and spices. It adds flavor to any dish and provides healthy bacteria for digestion. You intentionally cultivate bacteria?" The delegate sounded horrified. "Of course. Bacteria are our partners. They break down food, create nutrients, preserve materials. Without bacteria, humans would have died long ago." The delegates exchanged looks. This was not normal. Other species avoided decay. They fought against rot. They did not embrace it. Keth stepped forward, unable to stay silent any longer. "May I taste it?" Vorn shot him a warning look, but Keth ignored it. Hannah offered him a small spoon of the red paste. Keth put it in his mouth. His eyes widened. His skin, normally pale blue, flushed with color. "This is remarkable," he said. "Complex and layered. It stimulates multiple sensory receptors simultaneously." Hana bowed her head. "Thank you. It took many experiments to perfect." The tour ended in the meeting hall where the feast awaited. Long tables were covered with dishes, each one made from what the aliens had considered garbage. Day stood at the head of the table and addressed the delegation. "Honored guests," he said, "we have prepared a meal for you. Everything on this table came from the resources you provided. We hope it pleases you." Vorn looked at the food with suspicion. "We did not come here to eat, then consider it data," Tay said smoothly. "You wanted to see how we survived. This is how. Taste our survival." The other delegates were curious. One by one, they sat down. Vorn remained standing, arms crossed, but he was outnumbered. Hannah served each guest personally. She explained every dish as she placed it before them. Fermented vegetables, aged for 30 days. Protein cakes, made from bacterial cultures. Soup from simmered plant scraps. Sweet fruit paste, naturally preserved. And our probiotic drink, alive with beneficial organisms. The delegates hesitated. Then Keth picked up his eating tool and took a bite of the fermented vegetables. "Outstanding," he said. "The texture is perfect. The flavor is deep and satisfying." Others followed his example. Soon the table was filled with the sounds of eating and quiet exclamations of surprise. "This cannot be from waste," one delegate said. "It is," Hannah confirmed. "I can show you the biological logs. Every ingredient started in your containers." Orrin finally sat down. He looked at the plate before him like it was an enemy. But curiosity won. He took a small bite. His expression changed. Just for a moment, his coldness cracked. The food was good. Not just edible. Not just acceptable. Good. He put down his eating tool and stared at Hannah. "How?" he demanded. "How did you transform waste into this?" Hannah met his eyes without flinching. "You gave us death. We gave it time. Time and care and patience. That is what humans do. We transform." The room was silent. Yuna stepped forward. "I have biological documentation of everything. Every ingredient, every process. Nothing was smuggled. Nothing was hidden. This came from your garbage and nothing else." She handed Vorn a tablet with all the data. He scrolled through it, his frown deepening with every page. The evidence was undeniable. The humans had done exactly what they claimed. "Yes, this is unprecedented," a delegate murmured. "Ah, this is cheating," Vorn snapped. "The waste materials were meant to be unusable. The trials are designed to test survival under impossible conditions." Keth stood up. His voice was calm but firm. "The rules state that species must survive using provided resources. They do not specify how. The humans found a way that no other species has ever found. That is not cheating. That is innovation." Vorn turned to Keth with anger in his 4 eyes. "You defend them?" "I observe them," Keth said, "and what I observe is remarkable. These humans have done what the Rithaki could not, what the Velmori could not, what the Zondrith could not. They have not just survived, they have built, they have created, they have thrived." The other delegates nodded slowly. The evidence was before them, both in the data and on their plates. Tay seized the moment. He stood and addressed the entire delegation. "You came here as prisoners. You expected us to die fighting over scraps like animals. But we are not animals. We are human. Our ancestors survived ice ages by eating frozen seeds. They survived droughts by fermenting grain. They survived plagues by studying the very germs that killed them. Transformation is not our skill. It is our nature." He looked directly at Vorn. "You can keep testing us. You can give us poison and filth and death. But we will keep transforming it, because that is what humans have always done. That is what humans will always do." Vorn said nothing. He looked at his plate, at the humans, at his fellow delegates. He was trapped by his own trial. Finally, Keth spoke. I recommend we return to the Council with a full report. This species has demonstrated capabilities far beyond our expectations. They deserve consideration, the delegates agreed. They rose from the table and prepared to leave. But before they went, something unexpected happened. The old woman who had cried about her grandmother's kimchi walked up to Keth. In her hands was a small jar of Hannah's red paste. "Take this," she said. "For your kindness in trying our food." Keth accepted the jar with both hands, a gesture of respect he had learned from human records. "Thank you," he said. "I will treasure it." As the alien ships rose into the sky, the humans of New Ground gathered in the square. They watched the silver shapes disappear into the clouds. "Did we win?" Myra asked. Tay thought about the question. They had survived. They had impressed. They had made even Vorn pause. "Not yet," he said. "But we did something more important today. We made them see us. Really see us? And now they cannot forget." Hannah laughed and threw her arm around his shoulder. "Then let us keep cooking. By the time this trial ends, they will be begging us for recipes." The humans laughed together, standing in the settlement they had built from nothing. The sky was clearing. The future was uncertain, but for the first time, did not feel impossible. The final days on the moon passed quickly. After the inspection, something changed in New Ground. The fear was gone. The humans no longer worked to survive. They worked to excel. They knew the galaxy was watching. They wanted to show everything they could do. Una expanded the gardens until they covered half the settlement. She developed new growing techniques, mixing different composts for different plants. Young people followed her around like students, learning everything she could teach. COC built a windmill from scrap metal. It turned slowly in the thin air, grinding dried vegetables into flour. Hannah used the flour to make flatbread, the first bread baked on alien soil. When people tasted it, some of them cried. "I never thought I would eat bread again," an old man whispered. Day spent his final days teaching. He gathered the children and told them stories about Earth, about farms and rivers and seasons. He taught them old songs and older wisdom. "Wherever you go," he told them, "remember that the ground is always your friend. Treat it with respect, and it will give you life." On the 89th cycle, Tay gathered everyone for a meeting. Tomorrow was the last day of the trial. Tomorrow, the Galactic Council would decide humanity's fate. "Whatever happens," Tay said, "we have already won. We proved that humans can survive anything. We proved that garbage can become gold. We proved that 50 strangers can become a family." Paused and looked at each face in the crowd. "I am proud of all of you. I am proud of us." The applause lasted a long time, far away in the great hall of the Galactic Council. The debate was fierce. Vorn stood before the assembled representatives, his voice sharp with frustration. The humans violated the spirit of the trial. The waste materials were designed to be unusable. They were meant to test resilience, not creativity. "The rules say nothing about creativity," Keth responded. He had become the unofficial advocate for humanity. "The rules say survive." The humans survived. They did more than survive, another delegate added. They created a sustainable colony from nothing. Their food production methods are more efficient than what most species achieve on fertile worlds. Vorn shook his head. "This is exactly why they are dangerous. A species that can thrive on garbage can thrive anywhere. They could spread across the galaxy like a disease. Or they could teach us," Keth said quietly. The hall went silent. Keth continued. "I have studied their fermentation techniques. They are simple, but effective. Any species could learn them. The humans have offered to share their knowledge freely. They want to help others the way they helped themselves." "Why would they do that?" Vorn demanded. Keth smiled slightly. "Because that is who they are. They transform things. Not just waste into food. Strangers into friends. Enemies into allies. It is their nature." The debate continued for hours. Some feared humanity. Some admired them. Some simply did not understand them. But eventually, a vote was called. The result was close, but clear. Humanity passed the survival trial. Earth would be granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council. On the moon, humans received the news through a broadcast. Bourne's face appeared in the sky, but he was not smiling. "Humans of Earth," he announced stiffly, "the Galactic Council has reviewed your trial performance. Your species has demonstrated unexpected capabilities. You are hereby granted provisional membership. A ship will arrive tomorrow to return you to your planet." The message ended. For a moment, no one moved. Then Mira screamed with joy, and the celebration exploded. People hugged and danced and cried. They had done it. Against all odds, against all expectations, they had won. Tay found Hannah sitting alone by her fermentation vessels. She was smiling, but tears ran down her face. "We did it," he said. "I know." She wiped her eyes. "I am just thinking about everyone who did not believe. Everyone who said we would die. I wish they could see us now." "They will," Tay said. "When we return to Earth, the whole world will know what happened here. Your fermentation techniques will be famous," Anna laughed. "I do not want to be famous. I just want to keep cooking." The next morning, the transport ships arrived. The humans gathered their belongings, which were few, and prepared to leave. But before they did, they had one final task. Tay assembled everyone in the central square of new ground. "We built this place from nothing," he said. "We cannot take it with us, but we can leave something behind." He pulled out a metal plate that Seok had made. On it were engraved words in every language the humans knew. "This is our message to anyone who comes after us, human or alien, friend or stranger. Let them know what we did here." He read the words aloud. "New ground. Built by humans from Earth in the year of our trial. We were given waste. We made a home. We were given garbage. We made food. We were given death. We made life. To those who find this place, nothing is worthless. Only patience and knowledge separate waste from wonder. Transform and survive." He placed the plate in the center of the square. Where it would stand forever, the ships took them home. But the story did not end there. Word of the human trial spread across the galaxy. Species that had failed their own tests requested information about fermentation. Colonies on barren worlds asked for human advisors. The waste transformation techniques became the most requested knowledge. In the council archives, Hannah was asked to lead a teaching mission to a planet called Velman 3. The inhabitants had been starving on their toxic world for generations. She taught them how to ferment the poisonous plants into safe food. Within 2 years, they were thriving. Yuna started an academy for alien farmers. She showed them how to build soil from decay, how to work with bacteria instead of against them. Her students spread across the galaxy, turning dead worlds into gardens. SEO designed waste processing systems for space stations. His filters and converters became standard equipment on council ships. Engineers from a dozen species studied under him. Day returned to his farm on Earth and lived quietly for his remaining years. But every week, alien visitors came to sit with him and listen to his stories. He taught them the same lessons he had taught his grandchildren. Respect the ground, trust the process, and never give up. And Tay became humanity's ambassador to the council. He stood before alien delegates and spoke about transformation, about patience, about hope. He reminded them again and again that the species they had tried to break had built something beautiful instead. Keth became his closest friend among the aliens. They worked together on countless projects, bringing human techniques to struggling colonies. One day, Keth asked Tay a question that had bothered him for years. "Why did you keep trying?" Keth asked. "That first day, when you landed on the moon, everything was hopeless. Why did you not give up?" Tay thought about the question for a long time, because giving up is not in our nature. He finally said, "Humans have always faced impossible situations. Ice ages, plagues, wars, famines. Every time, we found a way. We ate what others threw away. We learned from our failures. We transformed our weakness into strength." He smiled at his friend.